A Maccas worker gets 29 properties by 29. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Let's have a look at this article from realestate.com.au sent to me by a viewer. Fast food worker turned investor from Mount Druitt reveals how he got 29 homes at the age of 29. There you go, guys. It's easy. Why are you complaining about getting into a house, getting a mortgage, when you can have 29 houses when you're 29 years old? Of course, the property genius that we have here, he's still pretty young, 29. He would have been born just after the last recession. So he was a recession baby. So we'll have to see how his strategy works moving forward. But then when you got a portfolio that big, you could probably liquidate a fair amount of it and still be okay, unless you're in debt to the eyeballs. Kind of sounds like what Dave Ramsey did in his younger days. When the banks all called on him, actually it sounds exactly the same as Dave Ramsey, to be honest. Anyway, ex-Housing Commission resident Eddie Dilleen is preparing to buy himself an unusual present for his 30th birthday in September, his 30th property. He just needs one more purchase to get there. The 29-year-old already owns an incredible 29 properties spread across the country, having bought his first in his late teens while working at McDonald's. There you go. See, that's it. You just need to be a teenager working at McDonald's and you get a property here in Australia. The problem with these type of articles is, good on him. He's worked hard. He probably deserves everything he got. He's worked bloody hard for it. Particularly when we see some of his tips. But the amount of debt he must be on could be a little scary for some people. And the problem is that this just perpetuates the narrative here in Australia that the only way to get ahead is in property. What do you reckon? I'll probably do a poll on the community tab to see what the consensus is. Do you think getting ahead, you just have to get in property here in Australia? It's all about property. Every TV show, every bloody, thing is about property, and people use it as an approach to try and mitigate their taxes here in Australia. So 9 of his properties were purchased over 2020 and early 2021, and the value of his portfolio surpassed $6 million. Many of his properties were purchased while working jobs that paid $60,000 to $70,000 a year, and he said he grew up extremely poor. So 9 of his properties from 2020 and 2021. So, just now, how many of them he got beforehand? That'd be interesting. The hardest is the first one. People assume I got money from my mum and dad, but we lived in poverty, he said. My mum was on a pension, and that was our only source of income. He first came to the attention of the Telegraph in 2017 when he had just accomplished the feat of buying his 10th property by 2025. See, that's the thing. It's property only ever goes up here in Australia. 2017. So he's just riding it. Pushing his portfolio to 30 properties in a few short years has defied even his lofty hopes, and now he has set his sights on owning 100. He attributes his success in property investing to a unique strategy which he claims anyone can follow, as long as they're not squeamish about debt and prepared to make sacrifices. And if you're living in a country where the government will chuck everything at property to maintain it. He worked 2 jobs while starting out as an investor, spent little and saved quickly. He said, I've never seen talk on more mortgage debt as a problem. I've never seen taking on more mortgage debt as a problem because I buy properties with high rents that pay the properties down. Okay, so he's buying properties that are positive geared. He's not negative gearing, which is fine when people are paying it. How do you handle the moratorium? That'd be interesting. He added that having a strong drive to succeed and well-defined goals help him get ahead in the property market, along with a natural interest in finance and the housing market. I lived in Housing Commission property near Mount Druitt until I was 12. I hated growing up in that environment, so I was very hungry. So you'll hear this often. People living in extreme poverty or just in crappy places really have a drive to get out of there. Which, good on him. I'm not taking anything away from his achievements, but it's just perpetuating the whole property is the only thing to get ahead here in Australia, guys. What else is there? You start a business. Well, then you got to deal with all the bullshit from the government, the red tape and everything. You know, and they wonder why no one wants to invest in a business when you just do this. You can do it on Maccas wages, guys. Just take debt. Don't worry about it. You know, the government will just bail you out. I don't know if I'm joking anymore. It feels like they're just gonna, doesn't it? A key to his success was buying what he calls bread and butter locations, where properties are under 400 grand. The locations are far from where he lives in southwest Sydney and includes regional areas and other capital city suburbs in New South Wales, SA and Queensland. Most of his properties are units in southeast Queensland, snapped up for 100 to 300,000. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff probably in Logan and Waterford West, I'd be saying, down there. Yeah, there you go. So Logan, and I'd hazard a guess, I wonder how many of his supporters or his tenants are actually, you know, completely government funded. Many have doubled in value since he bought them. His last purchase were duplexes and townhouses in the Logan area in Queensland for about 500,000. He believes inexperienced investors often make the mistake of considering only properties they want to occupy and only look close to where they live. Well, yeah, I mean, this is the theme we're hearing again and again from these people that make it big and that buy like 20, 30 properties. They buy in the lower socioeconomic areas where you know there's going to be JobKeeper and rent assistance paying your mortgage for you. That's what it is. So he's going and privatized social housing. That essentially, not all of it necessarily. I mean, you know, Logan's, it's a fine city. It's convenient. It's close to Brisbane. It's close to the Gold Coast. You're central to everything. I mean, it's got a corrupt bloody council, or it did have. That's no different to any other city here in Queensland, it seems. Anyway, back to this. He also believed saving too big a deposit can be a mistake. He preferred instead smaller deposits that relies on getting into rising markets quickly, often with larger mortgages. This allows him to gain rapid equity in his property, which he uses to purchase other properties. Okay, so everyone's a genius when the market's going up, guys. Everyone is a genius when the market's going up. No different. You'll see all the crypto guys who were quiet for 2 years in a bloody declining market are now going nuts again. So strong cash flow. One of the keys to his strategy is targeting properties where the rent is high enough to cover most, if not all, of his mortgage costs. This keeps his debt manageable and means he's able to continue getting new loans from banks because little of his personal income goes into servicing his mortgage costs. The regions he typically targets when seeking higher rental returns are lower socioeconomic areas or regional centres. His first property was a home in Central Coast suburb Tuggeranong, where he purchased for $138,000 in 2010. The initial rent was $220 a week, netting him a rental return of about 8.3%, enough to cover his mortgage costs, so high growth areas. The idea here is to purchase in suburbs where the price will rise in the future. Rising prices means he will get more equity in the properties without having to spend years chipping away at a mortgage. Yes, in a rising market, guys. If the market stalls, then not. But, I mean, look at it now. Look at what's happening. We've had a pandemic. We've had the first recession in 28 years, and there's talk of property rising, but only in certain areas. Maybe the regional areas. Maybe where he's talking. He will often draw out the equity by refinancing his mortgage and using the funds as a deposit for his next property, a process known as leveraging. Yes, I mean, leveraging can work really well, but it can also collapse in a domino effect. Refinancing his properties this way means he does not have to keep saving cash deposits each time he makes another purchase. I don't see leverage as risky. Okay, because my cash flow is high. He said most of the properties he bought recently were in southeast Queensland. See, this is the thing. If his cash flow takes a hit, then he may need to liquidate a few of them. But, you know, you liquidate a few, it should be okay. Undervalued properties. He aims to purchase properties below market value, ensuring he takes ownership of the property with equity already locked in. Buying below market value requires a strong knowledge of comparable sales. He also leans on some previous experience working in a real estate office when he was 20 years old. I've seen how agents appraise properties, and I've learned to spot which ones are good value, he said. Most people use price guides as too much of a starting point. I look at comparable sales. I do my own research. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the last sale in your street that's going to have the biggest impact on your property prices, guys. It's interesting. The one across the road, it sold for 40 grand less than the real estate told him he could sell it for. There you go. I still don't trust the bank appraisal of my place. I think it's insanely overinflated. But then again, you know, I don't care. I bought for less than the land value, so, you know, that's pretty much all I was buying was the land with my house. Like, 3 sales fell through before we got this place. Other people just got the building and pest and walked away. They were too scared, which I understand. We just said, no, we'll take it. I think we offered less than what other people were offering, to be honest. And we won't do a building and pest. So you're guaranteed a sale with us. I think he gave it to us because he knew that he wanted a family in it, not a developer to knock her down. So, being disciplined with personal spending is critical, he said. Okay, here's some good advice. I live frugally and I save a lot, he said. I don't buy fancy cars, I live humbly. He added that working 2 jobs at the start of his investing helped. He used refinancing, but I also saved a lot of a genuine deposit. I would save a deposit for a $300,000 house in 1 year when I was working 2 jobs. I would be in an office during the day and working in a bar at night. I worked hard for a few years. I saw it as delayed gratification. Now, here's the thing. You know, this is the thing, guys. He worked bloody hard. He worked hard. He's leveraging it to the moon to just keep going one after the other. And, I mean, that comes down to your risk profile. He's not worried about it as risk. He's buying in lower socioeconomic property areas. He's probably going to be fine, even if there is a market crash, because, well, there'll be people that will move to those cheaper areas to still get a rental property. You know, you move out of the city, and we need to cut our rents. Okay, we'll move out to Logan. We'll cut our rent in half. We'll go from $400 a week to $250 a week. He'll still pay his mortgage. He'll lose a bit of his equity. But, you know, there you go. What do you reckon? So what do you think, guys? What do you think? Working at Maccas and getting 29 properties. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.